Well, I want to continue on, on what we were doing with the options pricing, especially in using the binomial model. And we've already covered quite a few things, especially on how to do the calculations, how to build a tree out so that you start from point zero, and depending on how many steps you take, you can build it out to a time t. And I just, again, and we've talked again, we've actually gone through an example on actually calculating the prices as you build out the tree and using how volatility plays a role in how, those prices are actually set. And I want to run through a very quick, I mean, to finish it off, basically, I want to, this is a one period model. And the price of the stock is, let's say, 100. The strike price is 100. U is again, the upward movement is 1.1, and D is the downward movement, which is just a U, 1 over U. It's zero point 0.9. The interest rate is 5%, let's say for 1 year, and then we're looking at a 1 year uh, time period. And yes, that 1 year could be broken down into months, days, weeks, and we could have many steps, but we're not doing that. I'm just going to treat it as 1 year. And so the step one is to actually calculate what the prices are going to be in the future based on UND. And as you can see, if I take 100, multiply it by 1.1, it's going to be up to 110. Um, and then, based on that in the future, if 110 is my price in the future, based on my tree, and I have a strike price of 100. And again, we're looking at call options in this case, so not put options, but call options. Then the payoff on the call option is going to be $10. It's going to be the new price of the security minus the strike price. Now, if that strike price was above um, the 110, then the value of the call would be zero. Okay, there is no negative value, so it would be zero. If I look at the downward movement, then the price is going to be 90. And again, based on my D of zero point 0.9, and the payoff in that case is zero. If the strike is below the strike price, then there is no value. There is no value to the option, the call option, just like I mentioned before, if the strike was above 110. And so it's zero. Now we know again what the interest rate is, and we're going to use that as a discount factor. And when I say what I mean by discount factor, it's how we actually discount it back to time zero, which is our present time. And if you look at it, it's going to be, and first of all, we need to calculate P. So before we actually discount it, we need to calculate P because that gives you the weights to the upward part of the tree and to the downward part of the tree. Okay, and it's pretty consistent. So if you have multiple steps, then that P is pretty much the same. It doesn't really change. And so P is, and it's calculated using U and D as well as the interest rate, and it gives you a value of 0.75. And so to calculate the current value, you take P times the upward value of that call, which is $10. So it's 0.75 times 10 plus 1 minus P, which is 0.24, times the downward value of the option, which is zero. And you divide that by the interest rate. And that gives you a price of 7.2. So that is the current price of the option. So again, my current price on the security is 100. My strike price is 100, but I have a value on the option of 7.2. And that value is simply based on time. That is all time. If my security price was higher than my strike price, then the value of the option would actually be higher than 7.2. But given where I have again, this is just one specific case, again, as just going through an example. Uh, the strike price and the security price at the present time are the same. And so the value of that option is 7.2. So if I was to buy it today, I'd pay $7.20. If it goes up to 110, then my actual gain ultimately would be $10 minus $7.20 because I've paid $7.20 for that option today. That's my cost. It becomes my cost. And if it goes up to $10, then I make again 280 on that. If it doesn't move at all, it stays at 100, then the option value goes to zero at time t. And so I've lost money. Now, the good thing about options, like I've said before, and again, we'll get into more of the strategies later on, is that you're not paying as much as what that stock would have been if you had to pay for it. Let's say if you wanted to buy 100 shares, which that's how the options are. That's the value of how many shares it's actually being considered with the option price. If you're looking at buying 100 shares for $100, um, I mean, you're looking at $10,000. Whereas if you buy one option, and again, and what you have to do is multiply that 7.2 times 100. That's going to give you the price, uh, for that option for those 100 shares, essentially. Because again, the contract is based on 100 shares. And so again, 7.2, which becomes $720. So you're paying $720 um, for the option, not paying as much, so you don't have to put as much capital into it as you would if you had to actually buy, the 100 shares. Um, but the good thing with shares is that you can hold on to them forever if you want to. So even if it doesn't move, you don't really lose anything. Let's say if you did put $100 $100 per share into it, $10,000, and the price doesn't really move, it stays at 100 a year from now, you haven't really lost anything. Yes, you could have made some some income or potentially gotten some sort of return if you had the money in something else, but you haven't lost anything. Whereas with the option, yes, you didn't put as much into it, but if it doesn't move at all, then you lose uh, that $720 in the future. So that's the thing with options. There's a time period to it. It can work out on your behalf, especially if it does go above and again, it has to go above the actual strike price by the cost that you put into it. And if you do that, you can get an excellent return for what you put into it. But if it doesn't, you can also lose that money. But by the same token, if the stock goes down to 50, from 100 to 50, if you have the 100 shares, you've just lost half of your value. So that's 5,000. Whereas with the option, your maximum loss would be the 720. And so that's the positive, of the call option in this case, when the value of the stock, the underlying security drops by quite a bit. So it does reduce some risk. There is risk that's reduced. There's also risk in that you don't have time on your side sometimes. And again, there are many strategies that you can do, many things you can do, and we'll touch on all those. But this is just to give you a small sample, which we've gone through quite a few sessions on actually calculating the different values and getting to the actual prices on the tree. And then this shows you how we discount it back. And if you had multiple steps, it'd be the same way. You go from the outer nodes of the tree to the interior nodes of the tree step by step. And you do these calculations over and over again. You're going to get new prices, obviously new costs or new values for each one of the nodes as you go back one step for each one of the outward nodes. And you keep working your way backwards until you get to point zero, which will be that actual price on what the option is today.